You've reached the High Fashion Hotline.
Hi, my family's jeans have been in hibernation all winter, but we need a major awakening.
Get to Old Navy for new jeans now.
Old Navy?
Yep, Old Navy's got some amazing new styles your family's gonna love, and they're all on sale up to 50% off.
Up to 50% off all jeans?
All of them, even the new straight fit power jean for women and the new relaxed slim for men. Jeans start at just $15 for adults, $10 for kids, in-store and online at oldnavy.com. But hurry, it ends tomorrow.
That's our wake-up call. We're going to Old Navy now.
High fashion, Old Navy. Valid February 21 through March 4. Excludes in-store clearance.
What rookie rusher impressed us most at the Combine? Who is the Ravens receiver to own this year? And what running back shocked us the most this past season? Plus, from RotoViz and 2QBs, Joe Paeno will join the show to break down all of his 2017 FFPC best ball success and his tips on drafting successful Superflex squad. We've got a great show for you. If I could talk. Dave Gerzak is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts now.
What more can I say? We top billing it. Stallion without billing it. Viciously found victory. Burn towns and villages. Burning, looting, and pillaging. Murderers try to hurt us. We curse them and all that killing. I just want the bread and bologna bundles to tuck away. I don't work for free. I am barely giving up away. So tell begging Johnny and mommy to get the away. Hey, yo, here's a gun, son. Now run. Get it the gut away. Live to shoot another day.
Broadcast live and heard around the world. You are now listening to the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. It's the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for football analysis from the best fantasy players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak.
Nobody sleeps.
Thanks a lot, Rob. Greetings and salutations, all you Balkaholics and Gerzak fanatics. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com. I'm your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman, and my co-host is, of course, the patron saint of fantasy football, the Dizzle, Dave Gerzak. Coming up on tonight's show, who is the fastest running back at the Combine? Why are last year's number 3 and number 5 running backs being drafted nearly 2 rounds apart? And Joe Paeno will drop by shortly to give his thoughts on exploiting tight end premium scoring, whether Dak Prescott should be avoided, and a lot more. Shout out to the chat room right now. Feel free to post any questions you might have in there. If you want to connect with us on Twitter, you can do so with the show at HSFF Hour, at Eric Balkman, at David Gerzak, and Joe Paeno can be reached at Paeno. That's Paeno. You can post on our Facebook page at facebook.com/HSFF Hour. If you want to give us a call tonight, do so at 347-426-3682. That's 347-GAME-OVA. You can also email the show at the inbox at highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com or check out our website at hsffhour.com. If you have any questions for us, now's the time to send them. We'll try to get to all the chat room questions, tweets, and emails in the fantasy feedback segment later on in the show. The man behind the glass is our mutual friend. Audio engineer is Bryce. Mutual friend Rob, I should say. I almost forgot his name. He is running the board tonight, and Bryce is the audio engineer. I want to say something right at the top of the show. If you are interested in getting into a best ball draft, they start at $35, go up to $250 for the stuff we have available, both in the live and slow format, the normal and the superflex format, the classic and the best ball format, all at myffpc.com. So definitely check that out tonight. Dave, busy day at the Combine. I know you're crunching the numbers right now. If you need me to vamp for a little bit while you finish those up.
No, it's fine.
Okay. Well, we definitely are excited to hear this. Do we have is it a good segment of rookie running back talk? We haven't had one of those yet this season, but I feel like one's on the cusp tonight.
Yeah, tonight will be good.
Tonight will be good. Okay.
Lots of information from the Combine.
I'm excited. This is the unofficial kickoff to the the dynasty season, and certainly a lot of the stuff that happened at the Combine today. We will be discussing, maybe even preview some stuff that will be happening tomorrow. Before we get to that, let's get into the meat of the show. I want to bring in tonight's guest, ladies and gentlemen. He describes himself as just another Italian with 47 kids, a podcast enthusiast, and a best ball specialist. Hailing from Gangster's Paradise, he was able to win 6 FFPC best ball leagues in 2017, notching a second place finish in another. You can find most of his work at RotoViz.com and 2QBs.com. That's TWOQBS.com. You can connect with him on Twitter at Paeno, Paeno. Please welcome to the show, Joe Paeno. Joe, thanks for stopping in tonight. Really appreciate this, man.
Hey, likewise. Thank you very much for having me on. It's an honor. There's been a lot of amazing high-stakes, high-roller guys, and gals before me, and I'm honored just to be a part of it. So thank you for having me.
Well, we're honored to have you on. This is obviously exciting. Anytime we can get somebody who's on the cusp of the cutting edge of draft Twitter and fantasy Twitter. This is we all follow you there at Paeno. A lot of great stuff from you there. A lot of great stuff at RotoViz and 2QBs. I want to get into that more when we preview what's coming up. But tell us what you have done for RotoViz and 2QBs, the type of content that you normally churn out for those sites.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Just kind of getting started. Last year I kind of broke out with, I decided to start putting some of my thoughts out there. And I wrote a piece on Carson Wentz, a quarterback that you may have heard of. And it was in February of last year. So it was kind of like when everybody had kind of fallen off the bandwagon, he started off real hot. And I went all in on him, and I kind of, made my case for why. And that was a big success. And with RotoViz, I didn't have my best intro. I wrote a breakout piece for Austin Hooper. He kind of, underperformed, we'll just say that. But I've been doing some off-season work for RotoViz, wrote a couple preview pieces for the Rams and the Browns, doing a bunch of QB profiles for 2QBs right now. I'm kind of working on those. And I am doing a few other prospects, like running back prospects, that I'm about to finish up for RotoViz.
Yeah, and we want to get into the running back prospects. That'll be a running back heavy show tonight for you. And for anybody who's wants to check out some predictions and some well thought out analysis of both what the Browns and the Rams could be doing in free agency, definitely check out Joe's work at RotoViz.com. Let's talk about Carson Wentz here for a little bit, because as you stated 13 months ago, Joe, you were telling anybody that would listen, you need to get Carson Wentz on your team in your best ball league. You need to have him on your roster because he's going to pay dividends. And, of course, he was a leading MVP candidate for almost the entire NFL season until he went down. So tell us a little bit about what got you so excited for Wentz last year, and then tell us maybe if there's a quarterback out there right now that this year maybe is sort of duplicating a lot of those same qualities.
Yeah, sure thing. Just to start off, I actually have been a lifelong Redskins fan. I've suffered through a lot of years, but because I have watched them before so faithfully, I watched the Carson Wentz kind of just flash last year, and I started to see who this player could be, and I actually ended up buying a jersey, which is sounds kind of crazy for a Redskins fan to buy an Eagles jersey, but he was just pivotal in, my own analysis and things like that. He was a big success. So I am currently wearing the Carson Wentz jersey that I bought just in honor of that article. So I touted it pretty hard. So that was, you got to, take your victory lap when you can, right? But yeah, I was watching it. The biggest thing for me was that he didn't have a good supporting cast, and everybody was so quick. And this is just really a lesson for all of us to just remember. I mean, not that we don't know it, but just people are so quick to just decide, oh, this player is trash or he's great. And we just love to, just quickly, just throw the gavel and just say, hey, that's the verdict, that's it, there's no question. And everybody was just saying that he was a bad quarterback when in 10 games when Lane Johnson was suspended, he was getting rushed so much and he didn't have really a great supporting cast. His receivers were dropping the ball left and right. I think they led the league in drops that year for his receiving corps, and it was just embarrassing to see people just completely miss that, and I was just frustrated. And I like to go against the grain, so if I can find something like that and I find some sort of evidence, that's what excites me. Really, is like I just get bored of the same stuff because there's just so many smart people out there. And, I like to be different. So that's really what I look for, is try to swing for the fences.
A good call on Wentz. I was one of those people who threw Jared Goff into the trash, and so I realized it was Jeff Fisher.
It's all Jeff Fisher's
Jeff
doing.
Freaking Fisher.
Yeah.
So anyway, let me ask you about last year's best ball leagues. You won 6 leagues. You took second in another. And this was your first year playing FFPC best ball. How were you able to achieve so much success right away out of the gate?
I really like the format. I like the depth of, just the depth of the leagues and your scoring format. So I was kind of excited about it. I kind of got into it a little bit late in the season, where I was kind of, starting off kind of timid, and then I started really enjoying it and feeling like I had a good shot. But I usually, I'm not somebody who's just going to nail like the early picks necessarily. I think I do fairly well, but my strength in my evaluations is usually the depth. So I think your format really suits my skill set. And, there's a lot of things that I saw that I was kind of surprised by. The scoring definitely lends itself to getting one of those top QBs, but people would really, those QB runs were vicious. And I just decided if there wasn't a top guy that I was going to take, obviously like at the time last year, the Breeze and Brady and, things like that, I was just going to wait it out. There's only a few QBs that I really would have, taken ahead of, those runs. So I decided to wait them out a lot of times. I took them in groups. So I went QB by committee a lot. I ended up with, Carson Wentz, of course, in most of them, and some Jared Goff and some Deshaun Watson. And I took a lot of flyers later on. And I really faded tight ends a lot too, and I took them in groups later on because I wanted to, if I couldn't get an elite tight end, like a 100-target guy, I wasn't going to reach for them. So I really went receiver, running back heavy earlier on because there was just a lot of receiver value too.
We'll talk a little bit more about the tight ends. I mean, that's actually been a pretty effective strategy for a lot of people, is waiting on tight ends. So is that going to be your general strategy? And to go along with that, sometimes in these drafts you'll see some guy clowning around, or maybe that's his actual strategy. He'll draft like 3 elite tight ends right away, and you're like, now they all go. So they put a lot of pressure on the tight ends, especially if you have 2 guys doing that. Did you see that happen once in a while? And then how did you adjust to that as well? It's my going up to what's your general tight end strategy?
I love when people get aggressive and things like that. I love it. But I think my personal thing is I usually, if I start to feel like I have to do something, I don't do it. Because I usually try to fight that urge, and I don't like reaching and things like that because it usually doesn't pay off. But with the tight ends, like I said, there's only a few tight ends that I really would take early, and I still did take like the Gronks and Kelce's and things like that early on if I could. But unless they're getting like 100 or more targets, I'm really not interested in taking them in the first few rounds. I mean, I would see some of these guys who are gonna, say like a Kyle Rudolph or something. Like he's gonna be a red zone, option, but he's not gonna get a bunch of, he's not gonna get big reception bonuses. You know what I mean? So I felt like he was getting a little overvalued, or guys like that. I'm not just singling out Rudolph. But, I just went for high targets. That's why I liked Ertz if I could get him, but I wasn't really going to go and try to reach for tight ends.
Joe Paeno is our guest tonight. You can follow him on Twitter at Paeno. Won 6 FFPC best ball leagues last year. Took second place in another. You can also check out his work at RotoViz and 2QBs. And let's talk a little bit about Superflex, Joe, because when we break down that draft strategy, a lot of people consider it just a quarterback's arms race, pun intended, and they'll just try to gobble those up as fast as they can. Is that the right approach that people should be taking, or is there maybe a little bit more of a nuanced way to know the right time to skip over certain quarterbacks in favor of, running backs, receivers, or tight ends?
Well, I'm a big fan of Superflex and 2QBs, and like I said, that was my first article was for 2QBs. If anybody's interested in Superflex and things like that, definitely go to 2QBs and check them out. They do a great job with all things Superflex and 2QBs, so that's a great resource. But I haven't done any Superflex best balls yet, but I love that format and will be doing it this year. With my strategy, generally, I'm going to try to get, a top QB if I can. right off the bat. But I don't generally want to lock myself in and grab a second quarterback route unless it's just an elite guy I can't pass up, because then it just kind of boxes you in, and you really are going to cannibalize yourself a little bit later on. If there's just going to be a lot of value you pass up in other positions. Even though the QB might be a higher scoring player, you're going to end up cannibalizing yourself a little bit down the road when you could, start grabbing some of these later round quarterbacks that'll have a lot of value that people might pass up later.
Joe Paeno, our guest tonight here on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. Let's, Dave, little Dynasty rookie talk. We've waited long enough. Let's get into it here.
All right. So, did you watch any of the combine today, or were you trying to stay away from most of the day?
I've been super busy this week, and I've been frustrated because I haven't been able to watch anything. But I'm catching up. I've been definitely paying attention, and I've been watching a lot of tape. I'm catching up though. I actually hadn't watched a lot of tape until the last month. I just kind of got into it and stuff, but I'm really diving in right now.
Okay, so let's just say you hopped into a league tonight or tomorrow, let's say, and and you had to choose between Nick Chubb, Ronald Jones, who by the way pulled out his hammy today, doing the
40. Still did it in 4.66 though. That was kind of impressive.
Yeah. Or Sony Michel. What do you think?
I'm definitely a Chubb guy out of that group. I like both those guys. I haven't done as much Jones tape as I'm kind of really back and forth with him with what I have seen. But Nick Chubb is a guy I really, really like. He's just a phenomenal runner. People were kind of overblowing the whole injury. He came back real strong, and he looks really good. In everything I've been watching, he's just a born to run the football. He's not as great in the receiving end, which is something I covet. And that's the reason why I'm kind of interested in Michel. But he's going to be somebody who needs a really good landing spot. And I'm excited about him too. I just don't think he's going to be in the same tier as Chubb, unless he lands in like Kamara landed on the Saints. Unless Michel has that kind of a perfect dream landing spot, it would be hard for me to even come close with. I think Chubb's far and away better than him as a prospect.
Let me follow this up with some more Nick Chubb stuff, since I know that you do like him, for fantasy purposes. Nick Chubb a couple of years ago, Joe, was a guy I really actually liked quite a bit, and then he had that ACL injury. And now I'll be totally honest with you. I do not watch a ton of SEC football, and really the only Nick Chubb I saw this year was in the college football playoffs. So this is an incredibly small sample size. I don't know if you how much more you have watched than me. To me, and again, I'm speaking from a small sample size, to me, he just does not seem like the same runner that he was pre-ACL. Now, I know that I may be, speaking out of turn here since I am not an SEC expert, but because I want to like Nick Chubb, and I haven't been able to since the ACL. Talk to me a little bit about what you've seen, if you have seen anything pre-ACL injury and then post-ACL injury. Talk to me a little bit about, if you have seen the difference or if it looks the same to you.
Sure, and just to be transparent, I'm really not. I don't watch a ton of college football during the season because, unfortunately, I can pick pretty much one day of football to watch, and I'm doing Sundays.
Right. Yeah.
My kids are all hanging out with me and stuff, and if I did Saturdays too, my wife would probably divorce me. But I do watch a lot. I catch up a lot afterwards, so don't worry. I'm not super far ahead or anything like that. But I did watch. I did try to watch some of the old Nick Chubb and some from this year, and I totally see what you're coming from if you're talking about like the towards the end in the playoffs and everything, or the championship. He didn't have like a crazy good game, but man, when I did watch him in other games, you saw the speed where he would pull away from defenders that really stood out to me. And I did see a lot of clips of Matt Waldman tweeting that out as well. So if you ever want to kind of take a peek, Matt Waldman did a great job with Nick Chubb after the injury, so that might help you convince you more than than maybe what I'm going to tell you. But I did see a lot of explosion. I saw some fluidity in his hips that I was really impressed with too. So the burst, and you saw he ran a 4.52 today at his weight, which is a really, really strong score for him. So honestly, I don't think there's a whole lot to worry about. But if you want to check it out, check out Matt Waldman's Twitter handle and that scouting portfolio if you want to get a better idea of that.
Yeah, we definitely will. We're obviously huge Matt Waldman fans, and I do believe I actually saw some of that. I don't know, maybe it was even your Twitter feed, but I saw somebody retweeting some of the hip stuff that Nick Chubb displayed running through the line. And yeah, I thought that was you. Yeah. So I think that you have opened my mind enough to start liking Nick Chubb again. I am not the closed-minded Sony Michel truther that I was before. So
hey,
good.
And I was the guy touting Alvin Kamara before, so like you would think I would be the Sony Michel guy because he's like that kind of a player. But and I'm not downing him at all. He's a nice prospect, but his landing spot is going to be a little bit more important. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But man, Chubb, yeah, he's going to be a really good runner. So I'm excited.
Good. I am too. Joe, let's talk a little bit about some non-rookie receivers here. Josh Gordon, currently going in FFPC best ball at the 409 pick, and we don't know who his quarterback's going to be yet. Now, after Gordon goes, still in that late fourth, early to mid-fifth round, you could get guys like Demaryius Thomas, Larry Fitzgerald, Alshon Jeffrey, and Allen Robinson there instead of Gordon. Given that Gordon is going first, would he be your selection over those guys there, or is there somebody in that group of Thomas, Fitz, Jeffrey, and Robinson that you actually like a little bit better than Gordon? This is for best ball purposes.
Sure. Man, honestly, I like all of them better than Gordon. I love Gordon as the talent. And he's
awesome.
Phenomenal, but I would take every one of those guys, I think, before Gordon in best ball. And Gordon, if everything was kind of equal, Gordon would be right there in terms of, he's just a phenomenal player and he's an elite athlete. He's amazing. We all know that, but there's so much risk baked in, not even saying like just about his quarterback, but just, he gets one random poppy seed bagel and he'll have a failed urine test and be out of the league. So, I mean, I don't know how to quantify that. Larry Fitzgerald, who had 108 catches last year, is being drafted after him. I don't understand that.
Dave, I know you're a big Gordon guy. Would you be drafting Gordon over any of those guys between Demaryius Thomas, Alshon Jeffrey, Allen Robinson, and Larry Fitzgerald?
I actually kind of agree with you, Joe. I like Gordon a lot too.
All of them over Gordon, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, Fitz for sure is one that I know.
He's a slam dunk for me
because this guy's about to retire and he's still putting up top 6 seasons. You know what I mean? So, but all those guys are really good players. I know Gordon. There's just too much risk though. There is.
There is the aspect of we don't. I mean, we know we've heard everything is coming along good from Allen Robinson on the recovering from the ACL, and I don't have any reason to believe that it isn't. But maybe that's the one case I could make is I would take Gordon over Robinson there just because, A, we're not totally sure that Jacksonville is going to have Robinson. B, we don't know how healthy the ACL is for sure because we haven't seen him doing anything yet. And C, there's the Blake Bortles factor as well, which is not as big of a factor as I think as a lot of people make it out to be. Let's get to some emails here, Joe. First one is from Chris in Atlanta. He writes, "Hey, Joe. Is Dak Prescott easy to pass over as the QB 14 right now with the running game dominating a receiving core led by an aging Dez Bryant and an underwhelming Terrence Williams? Keep up the good work, Chris in Atlanta, Georgia." Thanks for the email, Chris. I want to say Terrence Williams, maybe he's not a free agent. I thought he might have even been a free agent. So I'm not sure what's going on with Dallas' receivers there, but let's apply it to Dak Prescott. 13 quarterbacks going off the board before him right now in FFPC, Joe. But is he a guy that you'd actually fade and look maybe at the quarterbacks going after him, given the situation that his receivers and he are in right now?
Well, I'm actually really glad that Chris brought it up. It's Chris, right, from Georgia?
Yes. Yep. Chris
okay.
From Georgia.
Thanks, Chris. I'm glad he brought that up because I was actually writing a piece on Dak Prescott. I was waiting to kind of see how things were going to shake out with ADP and things, but I was I was assuming that he was going to be falling, because his dynasty value was starting to fall a little bit, but mostly just based upon, recency bias. That's what we do best in as fans and, evaluators. It's just what we remember. It's the human, it's just the way that we're made up. And I try to fight that because, man, we were so high on Dak before. And in my Carson Wentz article, it's funny because I used, Jared Goff and Dak Prescott. It was mainly Dak Prescott and Carson Wentz that I was comparing because at the time everybody was so excited about Dak Prescott and everybody was just like bashing Carson Wentz because he was drafted so high and Dak is outperforming him and blah, blah, blah. And now it's like the complete opposite. It's so funny. And I think he's absolutely a buy right now. And the main difference last year wasn't it's not necessarily the running game that's this negative factor. It's, they had some offensive line changes last year. Zeke was out a lot. When Zeke was playing, he averaged, I can't remember the number. I starting to write it, so it's somewhere buried in my notes. But I think it was at least 3 fantasy points difference per game when Zeke was playing that Dak Prescott would score. He was scoring over 20 points, fantasy points per game compared to like 17 or something like that. But anyways, the offense as itself was really clicking when they were playing together. And I think they'll add another receiver, to complement it and things like that. So I'm predicting that Dak Prescott is going to have a bounce back season. I think you should absolutely be buying him at that price for sure.
Dak Prescott,
and,
Dave,
he provides the rushing value too.
Yeah, there is the rushing aspect too, which definitely works in his factor. Dave, you were all on him. Was it his rookie year or his second year? I can't remember what it was.
More than second year. I don't go crazy about quarterbacks as rookies usually.
And that's true. And we've already discussed that in FFPC, any scoring, QB 10, both years. And Joe brings it up, the recency bias. We think that he had a bad year last year. He really didn't. For fantasy, 9 quarterbacks ahead of him both years. His rookie year.
He had that slump.
The slump is what we remember.
Slump buster.
One more email here, Joe.
Sure, isn't it?
Sure.
Well, what? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all right. Brad in Jacksonville, Florida. What's up, Paeno? Of all the skill position rookies at the Combine this weekend, which specific athlete's measurement is the most important to his draft stock come April? Thanks for the email, Brad. This is an all-encompassing, wide-ranging question here that you could go a variety of ways, Joe. And I don't know if you even have a personal feeling of a guy that you think needs to do well this weekend in a certain area, 40 or bench or whatever. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think, it sounds kind of lame, but I think the weight is very important for, for running backs or just for especially running backs. If you want to be a actual, bell cow back, or at least have the ability to, tote the rock in the NFL, you're going to have to be plus 200 pounds in order to get some, decent amount of carries. That's something I'm looking for, is their weight. The athleticism is important. Don't get me wrong. I'm very interested in that. But really, all those things together, they're just having the collegiate profile, as well as, good testing. If then their draft stock is pretty much locked and loaded at that point, and you are looking for running backs to go in the top 3 rounds to be major, have a really good chance of being successful in the NFL. You can find running backs that are undrafted free agents, like Raheem Foster, or 4th-round picks. I think Jordan Howard was a 4th-round pick, things like that. But the majority of really strong NFL running backs are going to be in the first 3 rounds. So I don't know if that's the exact answer that you're looking for, but I'm looking for the athleticism. But really, I want it to mesh with their collegiate profile, and just having a decent, weight. You don't want to be too light, because then you're just bound to be banged around in the NFL. You can't run between the tackles if you're too light.
Joe, I know you haven't. You're not in deep best ball mode yet, because you're working on content for other sites at the moment. But if I was to ask you a guy that you think is going to be drafted in the early rounds that probably won't be on very many of your teams this year because you are worried about him busting, who would that be? And conversely, is there a guy maybe in the mid-rounds or later on after those early rounds are done, is there a guy that you think is going to be underdrafted this year that not enough people are talking about, maybe because of that recency bias that we alluded to earlier, but a guy that you think is going to bust and then a sleeper that you're going to try to be targeting?
Sure. This is something I really like, is just trying to forecast and predict and kind of be ahead of the curve. Just to explain my methodology. I don't even know if it's a methodology, but it's just the way I think. I like to really start from the foundation and look at everything from like a GM, a general manager, and a coach point of view throughout the whole NFL. I try to see, what's changing, what their salary cap's like, what their free agency and draft might be like based upon the GM and the coach, especially with new coaching staffs, because then it kind of gives you a little bit of an edge. Nobody really necessarily knows what they're going to do unless you're really paying attention. You can kind of forecast it. So a team that I'm kind of looking at this year, because last year it was one of them was the Rams, and we knew that McVay was coming in, and he was a strong offensive coach, and I was a Redskins fan, so I kind of knew what to expect and what players would fit where. But with a team that was pretty awful last year that I'm watching is the Bears. And it's going to sound kind of crazy, but Matt, I'm going to butcher his name all of a sudden. Is it Matt Nagy?
I believe that's correct, yes.
Yeah, he came from Kansas City. He was their offensive coordinator. The Bears have really kind of they were struggling to kind of be creative, but now I see them kind of installing a new offense. They're talking about Tariq Cohen, kind of using him in kind of like a Tyreek Hill kind of a role. So he's a guy I'm looking at because he really impressed me with his receiving skills. He's just really talented with the ball in his hands. He's really a talented player, and he's strong for his size. So he's tiny, but he's really strong and quick. So I think Tariq Cohen's a late round running back you can look for to in best ball formats pay off. I don't know where his ADP is at the moment, but I'm expecting it to be fairly low. And honestly, Mitch Trubisky, I think, is in a good position to take late in the draft as like a second, third quarterback with some high upside in best ball leagues. He's got the running ability. He's a great athlete. I wasn't necessarily like thinking I was going to be all over Mitch Trubisky necessarily, but I think with the new offense, they're going to add some pieces at receiver. They're terribly disgusting at the moment, but I think that they'll add some pieces that'll be their primary focus in free agency, I think, and maybe the draft. So if they can do that, I think that we'll start to see some equity in Mitch Trubisky, Tariq Cohen, and the Bears offense. So that's something I'm kind of starting to watch, or I have been watching. Something to fade. Tight ends, I'm probably going to be fading. Like I said, I'm not really sure particularly which ones yet, but I'll probably be fading the top tight ends and quarterbacks. I honestly will probably fade Carson Wentz, depending on where is he being drafted right now.
I can tell you that Carson Wentz is it's a little surprising to me. I think he's being overdrafted. He is going right now at the 709 pick right now in FFPC draft.
Coming off an injury.
A guy who might not be ready for week 1 of the season.
Yeah.
And you're looking at Dave, only 5 quarterbacks going in front of him. So he is the 6th quarterback off the board right now. So
if he was healthy, I would have no problem with that, and he would be close to one of my top, overall quarterbacks, and I'd feel super confident with Doug Peterson there and just that amazing offense that they run. It's just perfect for him. But it's just that is a really a complex injury. It's not just the normal ACL thing. Again, I mentioned this before. RG3. I'm a Redskins fan. I've been through the whole RG3 thing, and I'm not going to compare them, but the injury, the instability of his knee that I saw when it kind of wiggled back and forth, it gave me shivers, and it reminded me of the whole RG3 thing a little bit. And I don't know that he'll be ready, and I don't know that he should be ready right in the beginning of the season. It's early, I know it's early to even kind of speculate, but, man, in best ball, you're putting a lot of draft stock in the hopes that he is going to be ready and that he is, on a per-game basis, absolutely, he's worth it. But there's a lot more risk there than I want to pay it in the 7th round. So I'd probably be fading my, as I wear the jersey, I'm gonna have to fade him.
Yeah, and the other thing to because a lot of people say, well, I'll just take Nick Foles, super late, and I'll have Wentz, Foles, and somebody else, and I'll be all set. Well, that's fine as long as Foles is going to be the starter for Week 1, which I don't think we officially know yet. If Wentz isn't ready to go, we don't officially know that Foles will be the guy. Philadelphia hasn't really tipped their hand as far as what they're going to do with him yet. Regarding your Bears, I'm totally on this, Joe. I like Trubisky this year as a late quarterback. He is going in the 12th round of FFPC best balls right now at the 12:02, so certainly you can get him pretty easily as your number 2, maybe even your number 3 in certain cases, depending upon how you are building up those your quarterback stable. And Tariq Cohen right now going at the 909 pick, so still in the single digits, but he has gone as late as the 12th round before too. It is, and it's higher than I thought too. But bear in mind, that's still almost 7 rounds after Jordan Howard is going. He's going at the 304 right now. So Cohen still a very good value there. And I'm with you, man. Once a guy like Matt Nagy, who coached a guy like Tyreek Hill last year, and we saw what he did, the steps he made over the last season and a half, and then he comes to Chicago, and one of the first things he does was compare Tariq Cohen to Tyreek Hill. I think that there's a message there that fantasy owners need to be paying attention to. You've alluded to it already, Joe, but tell us what's coming down the pike for you, both at 2QBs and RotoViz. Anything that we should be looking for?
Sure, I appreciate it. I am, like I said, I'm kind of finding my way because I definitely feel like I bring a different viewpoint to the table, which I do want to be able to share. So I'm kind of looking for those things. I'm really focusing on the running back class. I really like to make, those bold type of predictions like last year. I still kick myself because I wrote I almost finished a Alvin Kamara breakout piece last year before Adrian Peterson was gone and everything, and I wrote it on the Satan's backfield, but mostly on Alvin Kamara, but I never actually finished it because I was like, whatever, the season's here, nobody cares, and I was just like, whatever. I just filed it away, and I was tweeting all the time, like in the off season, about Alvin Kamara, and I just never did it. So, or I never wrote anything about it. So this year, I'm going to publish many of those, and I'm going to make sure that I don't let that happen again. So I'm almost done evaluating the running back class. And that'll be probably a big part of it because I think this running back class is going to be exceptional. So I'm really excited about that. I will be putting out some pieces for RotoViz. I'll be doing a lot of QB profiles for 2QBs, kind of working on a couple projects with them as well for like a Q quarterback command center. They have a series called 32 for 32, which is kind of like a spinoff to ESPN 30 for 30, and that's like their QB profile. So keep an eye out for that. I'll be doing it kind of throughout the off season, but right now I'm focusing on studying film and kind of getting my running back class kind of figured out, so I understand where to take Rashard Penny and where to take these guys that are going to be breakout running backs.
He told you all about Carson Wentz. He told you all about Alvin Kamara. And he won 6 FFPC best balls last year. I don't think we need any more proof than @Paeno on Twitter is where you need to be following Joe and reading his stuff at 2QBs and RotoViz. Great stuff tonight, Joe. Thanks so much for joining the show and letting us pick your brain for a good half hour here. We certainly appreciate it, and best of luck to all your leagues this year. And we'll be looking out for all that great new content that you'll be churning out this offseason. Thanks so much, man.
Hey, really appreciate it. Thank you so much, guys. It was an honor.
Joe Paeno, ladies and gentlemen, from RotoViz and 2QBs.com. Follow him on Twitter @Paeno. Great stuff from him tonight. I need to be following. I'm gonna do the alert thing on my Twitter app for @Paeno. Whenever he starts tweeting, I'm gonna find out who he's on this year. You know,
First of all,
you know how many leagues I would have won last year if I would have had Wentz and Kamara in all my leagues?
That's a great point. Actually, that is a really great point.
And you could have got him free in every league.
You know how he's a badass guy?
Yeah.
It's at Paeno. So like he
just his
first.
last name.
That's right. He got it first before all the other people figured it out.
And think about it, he's got 47 kids. He's an Italian and 47 kids. That's 47 kids with the last name Paeno. So he beat out all 47 of his kids.
What if your last name was like Bitcoin?
You'd be screwed.
You'd be in trouble.
You would be screwed. Let's get to the fantasy flash here, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks to Football Guys, Roto World, and Rob for tonight's rundown. Saquon Barkley ran an official 4.440 Friday at the NFL Scouting Combine, according to Adam Schefter's Twitter account. Barkley.
I had him at 4.42. I was timing him with my stopwatch during the thing.
Oh, were you there?
No, I was watching on TV, so I was.
Okay. Well, you know, your TV has that delay. That's what it was.
Yeah, but the delay is an equal delay.
I was making a joke.
So was I. I didn't really
didn't land. On his second attempt, he got a 4.42, 233 pounds, running a 4.440. It was pretty insane. What did we say for speed score? Is like 123 something?
Yeah, I got 124.33.
That's insane.
That's one of the highest out there.
29 reps on the bench press, 41-inch vertical. He is 21 years old, Dave. And again, we don't want to be, praising him too much because these were all numbers that are awesome, but we kind of expected because he is a freakish type athlete and definitely one of the best, if not the best athlete in this class. R.C. Fisher, our friend, a former guest of this show, collegefootballmetrics.com.
He's more of an acquaintance. I mean, R.C. is like a little higher.
He's an acquaintance.
Higher level.
He's an acquaintance. Fine.
We should kiss up to him a little.
We should get him back on the show so we can call him our friend.
We should, actually. We should have R.C. back on.
We should. Okay, so anyway, he had a roundtable discussion about Saquon Barkley. You can't go anywhere and find anybody who has anything bad to say about Saquon Barkley except for these guys at R.C. Fisher's roundtable talking about Barkley. Give us the cons to Saquon Barkley this year for anybody who thinks he is God's new gift to football. Because there were some good arguments in there of why he might not be the absolute 100% slam dunk a lot of people think he's going to be.
Well, it's interesting because they actually, I'm trying to pull this up here, on NFL Network, even, because it's such a, it's like syrupy, it's so thick in there,
Yeah.
It's disgusting how much they're in love with all these
Yeah.
things. But even Mayock actually kind of pointed out that a lot of times Barkley would try, he would be kind of like, people, imagine Reggie Bush running, right? Especially early in his career. He would try and create everything, bounce outside, he'd have too many negative runs, and that's an issue with him, and even Mayock actually brought it up as something that people see. And one of the people in this thing, they said that he runs like, or he looks like Tarzan, and he actually runs like Jane. That was one of the things. He said that if you take away 5% of his attempts, which is a lot actually, the other 95% of his attempts, he only averaged 2.1 yards per carry, which of course all the attempts count, right? But you have Barry Sanders, that he was another player that he would bust off 70-yard runs, but then he'd have a lot of negative runs. It wasn't really that. There were times when it wasn't that good for the Lions. Yeah.
I will say this, too. It's important to realize that whoever drafts Saquon Barkley is not going to ask him to be a Leonard Fournette, Chris Ivory, banger, LeGarrette Blount banger between the tackles. That's not what he does well, and you're kind of doing a disservice if that's how you plan on using him. Which is interesting because Darius Geis, who is, kind of considered the number 2 running back in this class, he's like the exact opposite. We don't know how good of a pass catcher he is. We don't know how good of a pass blocker he is. We do know that he will run people over and win those collisions. So I don't think Barkley is ever going to be that type of guy that wins those collisions. But there is, you should realize that this guy did a significant amount of dancing, and maybe the learning curve of him translating that into good NFL rushing production might be longer than we think. Now, the pass catching should help alleviate a lot of that for fantasy, which is really all we care about anyway. But Saquon Barkley, maybe not the the godsend that a lot of people think he might be.
Well, 2 other points that we can make. He didn't have a lot of 100-yard games. That was something that was actually brought up, I believe, again by R.C. Fisher and his guys. That's a pretty, it matters. And you had brought up that their passing game was good. They didn't need him as much.
Really good.
But if you were a transcendent talent, one of the best running backs of all time coming into the NFL, you need to produce. You need to have those numbers.
I would make the case that part of the reason he did not produce on the rushing end was because he was producing so much on the receiving end. And Penn State wasn't just thrown to the receivers the whole time. He had 50-plus catches last year. Over his career, he had over 100 catches.
For a college running back, that's an excellent number.
Right.
I mean, 50-plus catches is crazy. So can I, my final?
Yeah, do that, yep.
All right, so I'm going to read off a few names for you.
Okay.
And we're going to start, we're going to bring it back, because a lot of people who are listening are old.
Bring it back, Dave.
Come on, you old.
We're going to take it all the way back. What we're going to do right now is take it back.
All right, so let's talk about running backs getting drafted in the top 15 picks, right?
Yeah.
And I'll go all the way back to 99, because these were successes. Edgar and James and Ricky Williams. They both.
So over the last 20 years, essentially.
Yeah.
Well, 19 years, because we haven't had this draft yet.
Right.
So this is Edgar and James's draft?
Yep, so I'm going to put these down to wins and losses.
Okay.
Ricky Williams, Edgar, and James. Both were successful.
Yep.
Can we agree on that?
Yep.
All right. 2000, in the year 2000, Jamal Lewis, Thomas Jones, and Ron Dane.
Okay, 1 out of 3 is bad.
So Jamal Lewis and then Dane and Thomas Jones were not very successful.
Although Thomas Jones, it took a while.
He carved out a career, but it was not...
Not instant. And it took several teams.
2001, we had LaDainian Tomlinson. I think you can say he's an uber success.
Yeah.
2002, no one was drafted in the top 15, but William Green and T.J. Duckett went 16 and 18. So let's just leave that out. If I said top 18, those guys obviously suck.
Yeah.
Okay. 2003, McGahee at 23, so he doesn't count. That's no problem.
He would have been top 15 if it wasn't for that injury, though.
Right. 2004, nobody. Steven Jackson was the first running back drafted at 24.
That was like the first year of the hate of the running back, wasn't it?
Well, no. 2005, we had 3 running backs drafted in the top 5.
Oh, forget it.
That was Ronnie Brown.
0-1.
Cedric Benson.
0-2.
And Cadillac Williams.
1-3.
You're giving us...
I was just kidding. Right, no, they're all misses.
All right, and then, I'm interested to hear what you're going to say about this. 2006, Reggie Bush went number 2.
I mean, for fantasy purposes, I think he was great, but he did not live up to that billing.
You know what? Well, let's put him in the win column. Even
put him in the win.
I don't really think he was a win.
Okay.
He's more like a tie or probably a little.
Then put him in the loss column.
All right, fine. We got a couple of winners coming up, and they are Marshawn Lynch and Adrian Peterson.
Sure.
All right, so right now it's 6-6 heading into 2008.
Yep.
Darren McFadden and Jonathan Stewart.
Yeah.
And now that's 2 more crappy guys.
Really? Well, I mean, Stewart wasn't crappy, but he certainly wasn't good.
Terrible.
He wasn't terrible.
He's the worst. Sean Moreno
was not the worst.
2012 pick in 2009, Sean Moreno.
He had one good year.
He's terrible, isn't it? All right, 2010, C.J. Spiller went 9th overall.
He was pretty awesome.
for 1 year.
Was it 1 year?
I thought it was one good year.
All right, okay. If it was 1 year, that's too bad.
I'll argue until I'm done.
He had that. You know what sucked with him is he had that ankle injury, and he never got for the rest of his career. He never got over it.
Right. 2012, Trent Richardson.
Yeah, he was bad.
So right now it's 6-11. Luckily, we have some good news coming up here. Thank goodness.
We'd have to be.
2012, nobody. 2012 was Richardson. Sorry, 2013, nobody. Gio was the first guy.
Right.
Then 2014, nobody. The second round was the first pick. That was Sankey. 2015, we have Todd Gurley, who's a definite success.
Yeah, he had one good year.
Yeah, he's fine.
He had 2 good years.
2 years. Melvin Gordon.
He's successful.
I'll put him as a win, but we'll see.
He was top 15?
Yeah, he went 15th, actually.
Oh, okay.
2016, Ezekiel Elliott, so he's a win.
He had 1 good year. Actually, no, he had 2 good years. So Elliott's a win.
So in 2017, we have Fournette and McCaffrey, and I think they're
the thing
likely
is,
to be successful.
We're including these guys as wins, and if we were to apply the same logic to these previous guys, they might even be losses.
Could be, yeah.
So I mean, this is what was the final tally here?
It's 11-11.
Okay, so it's
50-50.
You could make the case pretty easily, and I wouldn't disagree with you that the hit rate among top 15 running backs in the NFL draft is actually less than 50%.
It's in the neighborhood. It's at 50 at best, right?
Yeah,
you say
50 at best.
So think about that for a minute. This guy, and his numbers are amazing, transcendent supposed talent, but he's got a few flaws.
Yeah.
There is a chance he busts. Trent Richardson coming to the NFL, he was the bona fide number 1 pick no matter what.
Yep.
So,
we'll leave that out there. Now, to sum this up, just so you don't get the wrong idea of what the conversation is.
We still like Barkley. He's still number 1.
If he was if you had the 101 rookie draft pick and you were drafting tomorrow, I would be taking Barkley.
So would I.
Dave would be taking Barkley.
Right.
Buyer beware.
Probably because other running backs are, this is a super deep running back class, but others are actually more of a risk.
Question from the chat room from our resident Ivy League professor, Wasp Guy. Whom do you believe is the most currently overrated rookie running back? You have a feeling on this, Dave? I would have said Nick Chubb before I talked to Joe Paeno tonight. Now I'm not sure. Because I think Chubb might be a little bit underrated at this point. You could say Barkley. You could say Geis. Ronald Jones is another guy. Royce Freeman. Rashad Penny.
I don't really know if I have an answer, because the only one who's like super crazy hyped is Barkley, and everybody else is just I don't think anyone actually. When you look at these speed scores, I don't think anyone's actually being overhyped.
Yeah. You wouldn't say Kalen Ballage?
Well, I mean, today he had the second highest speed score. He ran 115 speed score.
Right. But, again, this is a guy that was expected to test very well athletically at the combine.
He also had a 6'9" 1-3 cone at 228 pounds. That's not as good as Le'Veon Bell or David Johnson, but it's still pretty darn good.
And he's shorter than what we thought. So maybe we're...
That's right. He came in under the 6'4".
I think we had this conversation off air about that you said he's too tall to be a running back. Maybe we had it on the air.
We were talking about it, and I said, well, he's too tall.
Yeah, and because he was like 6'2" or whatever, but he measured in at like 6 foot.
I thought it was 6'1" and change or something.
You're right. No, it was 6'1" and change.
But it's not Brandon Jacobs at 6'4", 260 like we talked about earlier. So.
Yeah, bigger than somebody
too tall
blocking for him. So yeah, I guess Kern, the reason, or I guess I don't have there's guys I like and I don't like right now, but I don't think there's a super overrated guy at this point.
In the chat room, I was posting some of the speed scores. This is an historic of running backs as far as speed scores go. Yeah. I've never seen, there's 10 running backs at 104 or higher. I've never seen that many.
Get those drug tests out in Indy. We got to figure this out.
Maybe they switched up the 40 time.
Who knows? Maybe they're using a juiced stopwatch, Dave. You never know.
Just in baseball.
Ozzie Newsome admitted the team is resetting at the wide receiver position. Jeff Zrebic, I hope I'm pronouncing his name, doesn't expect either Mike Wallace or Jeremy Maclin to be back with the team. Michael Campanaro is a free agent. And Newsome said training camp is a make or break session for 2015 first rounder Brashad Perriman. Chris Moore is the only other guy on the roster, Dave. The reason I bring this up, fantasy purposes, if they trade for Jarvis Landry, if they draft somebody in the first round, we will be bumping him up in our rookie drafts, and we will be looking at a lot of fantasy goodness from whatever receiver becomes the number one guy there.
Yeah, 100%. When you look at these receivers, they're just like the worst. Maclin, Wallace, Campanaro, Perriman.
And this
I'd cut them all.
Yeah, and by the way, this is a guy or a team that the year before, correct me if I'm wrong, had Steve Smith on the roster too.
You know, Smith now probably couldn't come back, but last year he probably could have.
He probably could have.
Should.
Get back to the rookie running backs. Darius Geis ran the 40 today in 4.49 seconds. This is what Chase Goodbread tweeted out today. Geis is a larger human being, 224, 5'10 and a half, and got up 15 reps on the bench. So this
which is actually pretty crummy for a 224 NFL running.
Yeah, it's not great. I don't know how long his arms are, but
give me a break.
Well, okay, you bench press. Would you not say that it is more difficult for a guy with longer arms than shorter arms?
Yes, I would agree. It is more difficult.
The defense rest counts. Your honor.
First of all, you don't even know how long his arms are. So
no, that's it.
You know, whatever excuse for him is, hey, he might have the long arm syndrome. Okay. Maybe there's a chance Occam's razor. Maybe he's just weak.
Maybe he is. Or maybe his power comes in his legs, because that's how he won a lot of battles at LSU, was bowling over guys, but just by getting low and using his core and his lower body power.
Good point.
Is he your number 2 running back right now?
Yeah, right now he is.
Okay.
He had I think a 110 speed score.
You posted them all in the chat, and I was trying to keep up with this.
Yeah, I know.
We should just read them.
I can rifle them up.
Yeah, just go ahead with the speed scores today, because we alluded to how historic they were.
All right, Ballard's 115, also that 6'9", 1-3 cone. Barkley 124, as noted. Nick Chubb 109. He had a 10-foot, 8-inch broad jump. Also, Nick Chubb.
Just for clarification for people who aren't necessarily familiar with speed score, it is a convoluted, calculation. But are we saying 100 is average?
100 is considered pretty decent.
Okay, 100. Okay, so average would be like what, 95?
I guess when you say, I guess
Between 95 and 100 is average?
Like 100 is an NFL caliber running back.
Okay, there you go. Perfect. Okay. So you had 109 for who? Ballage?
For Chubb.
Oh, for Chubb, yeah.
So Ballage 115, Barkley 124, Chubb 109, Freeman 10. I'm going to just run it up. 108, Geis 110, Penny 111.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people.
Penny.
Yeah, Penny, who's the guy who just produces yards and yards and yards. He's actually putting up some good athleticism. Jarvian Franklin weighs 239 pounds, 104.
Where's he from?
I don't know right in front of me here, but let me see. Franklin.
Well, I can look it up.
From Western Michigan.
Well, okay.
And he had a 6'9" 3 cone.
Row that boat.
Hines.
Naheem Hines, yeah.
Yeah, 107.6, which is really impressive considering he's a shrimpy dude, 198.
Naheem Hines, spoiler alert, he also had the fastest combine time of any running back today. At 4.38 is what I had with my stopwatch.
No problem. Sony Michel, 100.75. So it's a tad bit disappointing for him.
Yeah.
Ryan Nall, 105.4 and a 6.95 free cone. And the oft-hated by Ron Meyer, Bo Scarborough, 109.2 speed score, 11-foot, 4-inch broad jump, and I don't have his vertical. 40-inch vertical.
Yeah.
Dude, those are pretty sick numbers, actually.
Yeah. No, he did very well today.
And again, Barkley and Chubb both benched 29 times on the bench, and
tied for the best among the running
Chris
backs.
Warren, who had a 6.98 3 cone, also had 25 on the bench press.
Yeah.
And he weighs 247.
Bit of a sleeper too, Chris Warren.
He might not get drafted, but
Yeah, there's a lot of. I remember, throughout his career at Texas, there's a lot of people that said, "Hey, watch for this guy at the next level." So another guy to be paying attention to.
One person actually, I think who might be overrated, because I was rating, was Mark Walton. Ran a 4.640 at 202. That's not good enough.
No,
really not.
Now you do that, you fake a hamstring injury at the end, and you say, "Hey, look,
like Ronald Jones
I'll be better for my pro day." That's what you do. That's what you got to do.
Yeah, I'm just going on an all lettuce diet for the next 14 days.
So Mark Walton, I read that he met with the Eagles and the Giants today. Giants would be an interesting landing spot if he was to get drafted by them. Nick Chubb, just to kind of wrap things up here, ran the 40 and 4.53. He is 5'10", 227 pounds, so certainly a 4.53. That's pretty good. And considering he got 29 reps, also very, very good. If only, Dave, you wouldn't have torn that ACL, we might have a conversation for who the best back in this draft is between Saquon Barkley and Nick Chubb.
Well, he's still, it's just another year away. I think that he's still
another year recovered.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. Remember, who he backed up at Georgia?
Trent Richardson.
No, that is incorrect. Do you seriously know or do you not know?
Let me think.
Give you a hint. He's going at the 101 in FFPC drafts right now.
Yeah, right.
So there you go. Speaking of running backs in the FFPC, let's talk about how they finished this past year, Dave.
Are we still doing that?
Yeah, we're still doing that. Do you have anything else you want to say about any rookie running backs today that we didn't cover? I mean, we'll obviously get into it more.
One other thing.
Go ahead.
Kerryon Johnson from Auburn.
Yeah, I kind of like him.
He didn't run at all.
Why is that?
I don't know. Maybe he
chose not to.
Jerk.
He chooses not to run.
He's not going to run. But it's interesting. He must not be a hurry. He weighed 213, but he had a 10-foot 6-inch broad jump and a 40-inch vertical.
Very good.
Those are really great numbers. So I'm interested to see his running.
He actually is. I was surprised going at the 1403 in FFPC best balls right now.
It's amazing you have an ADP already for this.
Yeah, that's pretty. Darren Armani, FantasyMojo.com. Check it out. So that is it for the rookie running backs. We're obviously going to get way more into that over the next few weeks and month heading into the NFL draft. Okay, so let's talk about how the running backs finished. I believe you have a sheet there of how they did finish somewhere over there by your sheet.
Oh, do I?
Do you not?
I got it, sure.
You got it. Okay, perfect. All right. So
I don't like to look in the past.
I think looking in the past is a great way to predict the future. So we're going to go ahead and do that right now. Dave, look at on that list, the number 3 running back. First of all, Todd Gurley, Le'Veon Bell, 1 and 2, going 1 and 2 in FFPC drafts right now as well. Alvin Kamara finished 3rd among running backs last year. He is going at the 107 in drafts as the RB5. Mark Ingram finished as the 5th running back last year. Only a mere 17 points behind Alvin Kamara, yet he is going as the RB14 in the early third round. Call me crazy, but I think there's something wrong with that disparity.
Well, if you assume they're going to finish exactly the same next year, yes. But you know what's actually kind of funny?
All right.
You know, I think if there was if you were betting in Las Vegas and they put a line on Mark Ingram versus Alvin Kamara, most fantasy points, I bet you it'd be pretty close to a pick-em. Like, really pretty close.
If last year it
even
was...
regardless of, just...
honestly, I might take Ingram. Think about
it's
how...
It's a lot safer. Don't you think Ingram's safer?
Yeah,
Safer? Yeah,
I do. Think about how insane Kamara's season was last year. The big runs, the touchdowns. It was crazy. I'm sorry, I'm getting verklempt apparently.
Yes, don't start crying.
I'm not going to start crying. Go ahead and talk a little bit about why you believe Ingram is the safer pick while I get some water before I die.
You put the show on pause, it sounds like it. So anyway.
It's not on pause.
Well, the thing is, Sean Payton doesn't seem like the coach, and he never does this. He always uses his running backs the same way every year after year. Even if the running back is not, you don't draft the guy, you don't even like him, he's not that productive, he's still going to use him the same way. So Ingram was actually productive. He really put up good numbers. He's a great goal line back. And he can actually catch the ball on first and second down. So I don't see any reason whatsoever for them to change up the running back usage when it was so successful last year.
I will, Ingram was my 0 RB guy last year, and I really can't do that this year because he's going in the third. But, man, if I go receiver to start, I have no qualms taking Mark Ingram in the early third, and I would much rather have Ingram in the early third than I would Alvin Kamara in the mid-second. Moving on down this list, you have familiar faces like Kareem Hunt, Melvin Gordon, LaShawn McCoy, Christian McCaffrey, Leonard Fournette. You get to number 12. Duke Johnson Jr., Cleveland Browns running back, finished as the number 12 running back last year. Actually finished less than a point away from Jordan Howard for 11th on the list. And he actually is going at the 5-12 in drafts right now as the RB23. Dave, he might be a good 0 RB candidate guy. The only thing that could potentially screw him over, the aforementioned Saquon Barkley being drafted by the Browns.
Oh, you mean like the 90% chance that it's Barkley?
Do you think it is 90% that he goes to Cleveland?
No, you know what? I don't. I don't think it's 90. I think it actually is more like 70, 60. But
I think the Giants would be crazy enough to take him at 2.
This is actually a pretty easy discussion in my opinion. I think that the Browns, they have the 1 and the 4 pick.
Yeah.
Right? And it's the Colts. And
they have the 3. The Giants are at 2, Colts are at 3.
They both need running backs.
Yeah.
So obviously the Browns take Barkley number 1.
I don't think it's going to work like that.
They're going to take Barkley number 1. The Giants maybe will take whoever. So the thing is, both teams need running backs and quarterbacks, I guess.
They both.
But the quarterbacks are
Teams,
deeper.
they need everything.
They need a lot. What they need to do is even trade down and get more picks, even though the Browns have a ton.
Yeah.
I think they take Barkley number 1.
I really don't. And I'll tell you what, I will put 5 on that right now.
You know what? I don't think it's better than a 50% proposition.
Okay.
So I won't.
Fair enough. I am not going to call you out on that because I get it.
Sam Darnold, the guy with the face I can't stand, so I'm not going to like him ever in the NFL.
Okay, so Duke Johnson, though. Yeah. Moving on. Duke Johnson, your thoughts on him at the end of the 5th? You would not be targeting him there because of the Barkley factor.
Probably not, actually. Yeah. I like Johnson's skill set, but I just feel like he's not going to get the same opportunities this year.
Think fast. Who's the Ravens starting running back?
Jamal Lewis.
No.
Oh.
Think a little bit slower.
Buck Allen?
It's not Buck Allen. Alex Collins ended the year as the Ravens.
Oh, yeah,
RB1.
that guy.
Okay.
The guy who I picked up for free all the time.
Yeah, and he's going at the 704 in drafts right now. Mm-hmm. He finished as the running back 23 last year. You know what's interesting about that?
No.
He had a teammate finish as the number 20th ranked running back last year, so ahead of him on the list, and that guy is going all the way down in the mid-23rd round of best ball, and that is Buck Allen. Dave, don't forget about Buck Allen. We're talking about the Ravens remaking their receiving core, and right now, if that's the case, and they're bringing in a bunch of new guys, who do you think Joe Flacco is going to be counting on? Free agent to be Danny Woodhead? I think not. It's going to be Buck Allen, who's going to be an underrated part of this offense once again. And for best ball drafts in the 23rd round, who are you drafting that's going to be better than him? This is a fantastic value.
What round?
23rd.
That is pretty insane.
It's insane.
So, you know what I would, so again, take Alex Collins where he gets drafted, right?
In the early 7th.
Sure, even a little earlier if you want.
Okay.
And then spend a 17th round. I'm talking, go up 6 rounds on Buck Allen. Who cares? The difference is between taking the Cowboys defense and the Browns defense or whatever it is. It doesn't matter.
Right. Now, the argument against this, Kenneth Dixon is coming back. I know you're not. Okay, I took the words out of my mouth there. And then there's also the possibility that they could draft somebody as well. And
there's definitely that chance.
And maybe cut bait on one of these guys.
I think they need. I really like the way Alex Collins ran last year. When you watch him, he looked really good.
It's funny about Alex Collins. He was one of my favorite running backs when he was a rookie, and I believe he was drafted by
Seattle.
Was it Seattle? I felt like he was drafted by somebody, and then they cut him, and then Seattle picked him up. But maybe that wasn't the case. I honestly can't remember anymore.
I'll check.
But I remember talking him up.
Vikings, Ravens, Vikings?
Well, I don't know.
Who the hell knows?
But it's not important. But I remember talking him up, and I couldn't find anybody else who really liked him. Who was the other guy? Jonathan Williams was his college teammate at Arkansas, and everybody really liked him. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm wrong about Collins. Maybe he's not that good. And then, Jonathan Williams doesn't even get drafted, and then he's on a team's practice squad, and then the Saints sign him off their practice squad, and then they didn't play him, and then here Alex Collins is starting running back. So.
Well, Buck,
you never know.
After talking about all these young studs, soon-to-be running backs.
Alex Collins, 5th-round pick of the Seahawks, according to T-Packer. Thank you.
Great. Now we're talking about these other guys who are not. Let's talk about some stars here. Otherwise,
okay.
Close the show.
Let's bring it back. Last year, one of last year's.
How about Fournette?
No. Another guy, a contemporary of Fournette, a guy that got drafted really high last year among that big rookie crop, Joe Mixon. He finishes as RB32, yet he's being drafted as RB17 this year at the 309. A bit high for my taste on a team whose offense is no bueno, and whose offensive line is even worse than no bueno.
I can't do it either. I mean, 3.8 yards per carry. You don't have to prove it to me, Mixon. I know they said they're going to talk about him being
listening.
I hope he is.
Calling him out on the show.
Yeah, I mean, talking about using him as the big running back on the team. They're going to get rid of Jeremy Hill, fine. But the team it's not well run. I'm not a fan. No thanks.
Let's play a quick would you rather with running backs that are going after Joe Mixon in drafts right now.
All right.
Would you rather have Joe Mixon or Carlos Hyde? Free agent Carlos Hyde. Free agent to be Carlos Hyde.
Mixon.
Would you rather have Joe Mixon or Kenyon Drake?
Mixon, because Drake, there's a chance they draft a running back.
I agree. Joe Mixon or Darius Geis?
Wow, that's pretty close. I'll take Geis.
I think I'd still rather have Mixon because I think what scares me is Geis could be drafted at the end of the first round and then just be ticketed for like a backup type guy, and I don't want a backup type guy with his game.
You don't draft a guy in the first round and sit on the bench. But
Steelers might. Joe Mixon or Jay Ajayi?
I don't like Jay Ajayi in general, so that's easy.
Joe Mixon or Lamar Miller?
Oh my God, even worse.
Joe Mixon or Sony Michel?
Mixon.
All right, we got to go the other way then. Joe Mixon or Jordan Howard?
I'll take Howard.
Joe Mixon or Derrick Henry?
Henry.
Joe Mixon or Mark Ingram?
Ingram.
Mixon's going right where we expected to, apparently.
He's the perfect ADP.
It's just too high. The ADP is too damn high.
You know what? I agree with where he's being drafted. That's where I'm going to take him, 309.
Question from the chat, Wasp Guy. What do you think of Chris Carson this year and in Dynasty? Not a fan and not a fan.
Yeah, I agree, actually. When you're talking about one of 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever, and the team's always searching around trying to get stuff figured out at running back, they're going to draft someone eventually that's going to be good.
Yeah. And not only that, the offensive line is in shambles, and not only that, the offensive coordinator they hired is Brian Schottenheimer.
Yeah, Schottenheimer.
There's a lot to not like.
And the defenses in their division are all good.
Yeah. And the Seattle defense is slipping a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not. The talent is still there, but they're losing these guys. They can't pay everybody.
I try to feel sorry for Russell Wilson, but all I do is I see him in that commercial with the headphones like that. So I just envision that he spent his entire offseason at a pool, like just listening to like Beats headphones or whatever.
Those pools in Seattle. Actually, know what he's doing right now.
I'm sure he doesn't live in Seattle. He probably lives in LA.
I don't know where he lives. He's hitting home runs in the Yankees spring training.
Yeah, we're in Durham, North Carolina.
No, they Clearwater, Florida, I believe is where they work.
Hackensack, New Jersey.
Definitely not Hackensack. It's way too cold there right now. Final thing I want to wrap up with here tonight: Jamal Williams, the number 37 running back last year. Aaron Jones finished as number 61. Dave. So big disparity there. However, you look at their ADPs this year. Jamal Williams, 907. Aaron Jones, 909. One of these guys is being drafted incorrectly. Who is it? Or is it both of them? Is Williams going too late and Aaron Jones going too early? I mean, what are your thoughts here?
I can see drafting the pair, but I still don't really like it. I just don't think any of them are all that great. Rodgers is going to throw in the red zone. And this is a new GM. There's always a chance he just takes a crap all over those guys and drafts another running back in the second or third round. What's to stop him from doing it? He has a clean slate.
Yeah.
So if he likes some guy, let's say, I don't know, one of these guys, Geis. Let's say Geis falls beyond the second round, where the Packers pick? Middle of the round?
Middle of the round. 14th.
Middle of the second round or whatever. Boom. Oh, see you later. Both those guys are crap.
I mean,
there's really, what do you think? 20%? I think there's a 20% chance.
Hold on. I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I think that 20% is awfully high of a percentage for them, knowing the Super Bowl window they're in right now, to take a running back there when they know they need difference makers on defense. Okay, so I think 20% is high. I'll also say this might be picking at.
I'm not going to respond. Go ahead.
I don't believe Geis really fits their offense as well as some other running backs.
Well, I was just throwing a name out.
And I figured as much, which is why I didn't want to make a huge deal out of it, but I did anyway. So who would be a really good fit for them, since you're very knowledgeable? Well,
Tell me about your beautiful Packers offense.
I would tell you Stoney Michel would be interesting there. Ronald Jones would be an interesting guy. I'll tell you what, if they wanted to wait past the second round, I'd like to see a guy, and again, this might not be the perfect fit, and then maybe this is just me liking Royce Freeman, but I think he is going to be an underrated pro too. I think he's going to be very, very good this year and going forward. So that is going to wrap up how the running backs finished this year, Dave. I don't think you have any further comments on that. It was just a return.
It was a lovely look at it.
Return of running backs. Do you know how many are going in the first round of FFPC drafts right now?
Let's go with 9.
That is dead on nuts. You are correct.
Good.
The first round running backs right now going in drafts, which you can sign up for at myffpc.com. Gurley, Bell, Elliott, David Johnson, Alvin Kamara, Kareem Hunt, Fournette, Gordon, and Saquon Barkley. The only other players going in the first round, as far as ADP is concerned, Antonio Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, and Odell. I want $20 million a year, Beckham.
Did you talk about Beckham on your show on The Score this week?
We may have briefly touched on him, but it wasn't that much. You can check it out the last Thursday of every month. Our next show, I believe, is March 29th.
Oh, that's right. Now, is it monthly now?
Yeah, it's monthly until
bring up every couple
September.
Of shows.
Yeah, so I won't talk about a whole lot. But when I do, I will tell you that you can listen to it at AM 1570, FM 95.3, and FM 99.1 if you are in the Oshkosh community, or listen live at thescorewi.com and check out the podcast of the show right on there as well, in case you want to stream it.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, great stuff. So great stuff from Joe Paeno tonight. Follow him on Twitter at Paeno. And you can check out all of his musings at RotoViz.com and 2QBs.com. Great stuff there, guys. Come on. It's the guy that turned you on to Wentz and you didn't listen. It's the guy that turned you on to Kamara and you didn't listen. Myself included. I'm holding myself accountable for this. Pay attention to what Joe Paeno talks about this year, because he won 6 FFPC best balls using his own advice. Dave Gerzak, I want to thank him, the FFPC, Rob Bryce, and, of course, all of you. A very special happy birthday goes out to Rick Schwartz, former guest of the show, former Yahoo Fantasy Football Sports host, and the guy who drafted an FFPC draft while getting a hurricane warning on the island of Hawaii. So great stuff from him. 6th place FPC auto drafter, a guy who almost auto drafted all the way to $250,000. Clay Corcoran joins the show next week. Can't wait to hear about this. Register for best balls now at myffpc.com. Your combine weekend. Enjoy it. It officially starts now.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com that was broadcast live and heard around the world. Eric and Dave will be back next week with more analysis, interviews, and advice from a guest much smarter than they are. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk with you again next week.
Big dogs stay on the porch, blow the whistle. Blow the whistle. Blow the whistle. Blow the whistle.
You know, this will be a little bit extended. I forgot to read an email.
Oh, great.
To whom it may concern. I just signed up for the annual Revelations draft. This league has taken over Genesis as the best league the FFPC offers. In addition to TwoPacker's world-famous post-draft review is now looked at as the most prestigious league in fantasy sports in the world. Yes, that's right, the world. Plus, there are sponsorship deals in the works in addition to the 2 secured last year. Side note, the Jameson was delicious. When I went to sign up, I noticed there are several other live drafts being offered prior to this one. In the past, Revelations has kicked off the official live drafting season and receives a full hour exposure on Eric Balkman's High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. Rumor has it this year Genesis was to make an exodus from the show and the full 2 hours would be devoted to Revelations. After seeing there are many live drafts going off before Revelations, here is a snip.
Wow, this guy keeps talking.
Here is a snippet of what went through my head. What in the bleeping bleep is bleeping going on? What the bleep is up with all these bleeping live, bleeping drafts, bleeping taking place before bleeping Revelations? These bleeping bleep pie bleepers are going to bleeping hear about this from bleeping me, right bleeping meow, mother bleeper. That is from TwoPacker. So, want to let everybody know that the 150 Classics are the official kickoff, although we have some 35s and 77s that happened beforehand. What I cannot guarantee is that Revelations will be dominating the full 2 hours and that Genesis will be making an exodus, Dave, because for the first time in, 2 years?
Yeah.
Genesis filled up before Revelations.
That's pretty impressive. We must have gotten some new blood in that league.
That's the rumor. I also heard that some people are in both leagues, which is
What?
news to me. Yeah.
You know, that's like being Jewish and a Christian.
To each their own. So Mazel Tov and Merry Christmas, everybody. We'll see you for those drafts. Talk to you next week.
You've reached the High Fashion Hotline.
Hi, my family's jeans have been in hibernation all winter, but we need a major awakening.
Get to Old Navy for new jeans now.
Old Navy?
Yep, Old Navy's got some amazing new styles your family's gonna love, and they're all on sale up to 50% off.
Up to 50% off all jeans?
All of them, even the new straight fit power jean for women and the new relaxed slim for men. Jeans start at just $15 for adults, $10 for kids, in-store and online at oldnavy.com. But hurry, it ends tomorrow.
That's our wake-up call. We're going to Old Navy now.
High Fashion, Old Navy. Valid February 21 through March 4. Excludes in-store clearance.